I dabbed the blood from my lip with a monogrammed napkin. Ironic, since the S in Sterling Enterprises was technically my initial, not his. Around me, the crystal chandeliers of the Ritz-Carlton ballroom continued to sparkle, indifferent to the scene that had just unfolded. "And stay out." James's voice boomed across the marble floor. "Security, escort my ex-wife out. She's clearly had too much to drink." I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol, but that wouldn't matter to the society photographers eagerly capturing my humiliation. Beside him, Olivia, resplendent in a dress that cost more than most people's cars, smirked behind her champagne flute. "Poor Sarah," she cooed, adjusting her new diamond necklace. "Still can't accept that James has moved on to someone more suitable for his position." I stood slowly, feeling the eyes of Manhattan's elite watching this delicious drama unfold. The same people who had attended our wedding 12 years ago were now witnessing what they thought was my final fall from grace. "You know, James," I said quietly, reaching into my clutch, "it's interesting you mentioned position." "Remove her," he commanded the security team, but I was already pulling out my phone. Because I just received an interesting alert from the Sterling Enterprises system. I turned the screen toward him. Someone tried to authorize a $10 million transfer to a private account. "Your private account." His face flickered for just a moment. "Those are company funds. My company funds." "Are they?" I smiled, despite my swollen lip. "Olivia, dear, has James explained exactly how Sterling Enterprises works? The ownership structure, the voting rights?" Olivia waved her hand dismissively, the 6-carat engagement ring catching alight. "James owns everything. Everyone knows that." "Everyone assumes that," I corrected, pressing another button on my phone. Around the room, phones started buzzing as the press release went live. But assumptions can be dangerous in business. James lunged for my phone, but he was too late. The damage was done. "Breaking news," someone read aloud. "Sterling Enterprises announces immediate leadership change. Founder Sarah Sterling resumes active control." "Founder?" Olivia's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. "Did James never mention that?" I asked innocently, how I started Sterling Enterprises from my garage while he was still trading penny stocks. How I built it into a billion-dollar empire while he played golf and took credit for my innovations. "She's lying," James snarled, but his face had gone pale. "I built this company." "Really?" I pulled up another document on my phone. "Would you like to explain these patents? All in my name, or perhaps the original incorporation papers? The ownership structure you never bothered to read because you were too busy being important." The room had gone deadly quiet. Even the photographers had stopped clicking. "When we married," I continued, "I let you take the spotlight. You wanted to be the face of Sterling Enterprises. Fine. I had work to do anyway. Real work. But then you started believing your own press." "Security," James shouted again. But the team wasn't moving. They were all receiving new protocols on their devices, protocols from the real CEO. "Oh, and Olivia," I turned to his new wife. "That necklace you're wearing, the one James said was from the company vault, you might want to check the ownership documentation, along with everything else he's given you this past year." Olivia's hand flew to her throat. "James? What is she talking about?" "Don't listen to her," he started, but his phone was already ringing. Probably his banker, calling about those suddenly frozen accounts. "The board meeting starts in an hour," I announced to the stunned room. "I suggest everyone check their emails for the new location." "And James?" I smiled, my split lip adding emphasis to the moment. "You might want to change. The defendant's chair can be quite uncomfortable in formal wear." As I walked toward the door, no security escort needed, I heard Olivia's shrill voice. "What does she mean, defendant? James? James." The last thing I saw before the elevator doors closed was James, the great business titan, frantically trying to access bank accounts that had never really been his. 3 months after the birthday party incident, I sat in my newly redecorated office, James's hunting trophies replaced by modern art and actual business accolades, reviewing the latest quarterly reports. Our stock had surged 45% since my emergence as CEO, though I'd technically been running everything from the shadows for years. "Mom?" My son William entered, fresh from his Stanford MBA program. "You need to see Olivia's latest Instagram post." I glanced at his tablet. There was Olivia, no longer dripping in borrowed diamonds, sharing a tearful story about financial transparency in relationships and the importance of due diligence before marriage. The irony was exquisite. And here's today's entertainment. William grinned, pulling up the security feed. In the lobby, James was arguing with the receptionist, his once impeccable suit noticeably worn at the elbows. He's here for his monthly allowance meeting, my assistant confirmed. And Miss Carlton, Olivia, is waiting in a conference room. She's demanding to know why her credit cards were declined at Fashion Week. I checked my watch. Right on schedule. After the fraud investigation revealed James had been embezzling company funds to maintain his and Olivia's lifestyle, they'd been left with two choices: face criminal charges or accept a strictly controlled monthly stipend while repaying their debt to Sterling Enterprises. Send them both up, I decided. William, would you like to sit in on this month's financial review? They entered separately, James first, then Olivia, carefully avoiding eye contact with each other. Their recent divorce proceedings had become quite the tabloid sensation, especially after she discovered most of their prenup was worthless since James hadn't owned what he claimed to. Sarah, James began, then corrected himself. Miss Sterling. About this month's allocation. Yes, I gestured to the financial reports on my screen. Is there an issue with the repayment schedule we agreed upon? The amounts are impossible, Olivia burst out. Do you know what it costs to maintain a basic standard of living in Manhattan? Actually, William interjected, we do. That's why we've provided a detailed budget breakdown, including suggestions for more affordable housing options. James fidgeted with his fraying cuff. The country club is threatening to revoke my membership. If I could just access my investment accounts. Your investment accounts? I pulled up another document. You mean the ones you funded with embezzled company money? Those accounts are part of the restitution agreement, along with the cars, the vacation homes, and yes, Olivia's infamous diamond collection. But my influencer contracts required a certain lifestyle. Olivia protested. How am I supposed to maintain my following living in a regular apartment? Perhaps, I suggested, touching my now healed lip, you could influence people about financial literacy instead, starting with not trusting men who slap their ex-wives at parties. James flushed red. That was a mistake. I was drunk, and you were threatening to expose. The truth? I finished. Yes, how dare I expose who really built this empire while you were busy playing business tycoon at charity galas? My phone buzzed. Another record-breaking quarterly report. The same company James claimed would collapse without his masculine leadership was thriving under authentic direction. Here are this month's stipend details, William said, handing them each a folder. Dad, your apartment's rent has been paid directly to your landlord. Olivia, your basic living expenses have been transferred to your restricted account. Any questions? This is humiliating, Olivia muttered, staring at the modest figures. More humiliating than laughing while your husband assaulted someone? I asked quietly. More humiliating than discovering your luxury lifestyle was built on stolen money. I said I was sorry about that, she began. No, I cut her off. You posted a vague apology video that conveniently promoted your new authentic living brand. There's a difference. My assistant appeared with more documents. Ms. Sterling, the board is ready for the expansion meeting, and the financial literacy program you started for domestic violence survivors is receiving national attention. Speaking of attention, William added, Dad, the tabloids are asking for comment about your new job as a junior sales associate at the mall. Should we have PR handle that? James's face crumpled. The man who once commanded boardrooms was now selling suits to actually successful executives, some of whom had once feared his borrowed power. The stipend agreements stand, I concluded. Same time next month. And James, Olivia? Try to remember, some fortunes can't be stolen or married into. They have to be earned. 6 months later, I watched through my office window as James pulled up to Sterling Tower in his used Honda Civic, a far cry from the fleet of luxury cars he once claimed as business expenses. The security footage showed him hesitating before entering, probably remembering how he used to stride through these same doors like he owned them. Mom. William appeared with his tablet. Olivia's launched her new YouTube channel, Living Authentically After Luxury. The comments are interesting. I glanced at the video. Olivia, in noticeably less designer clothing, talking about learning hard lessons and the price of willful ignorance. Her once $1 million apartment backdrop had been replaced by a standard city rental. Speaking of lessons, William smirked. Dad's sales numbers came in from the mall. Apparently, he's struggling to meet quota. His manager says he keeps trying to explain business strategy to customers who just want to buy soups. My phone lit up with a message from James. Please, can we revisit the stipend? The mall job isn't enough. I never meant to. Before I could respond, my assistant showed me the latest social media trending topic. James had been recognized by a former Sterling Enterprises executive while working his sales shift. The photos were everywhere. The mighty fallen, measuring inseams for commission. Ms. Sterling, my assistant said as she entered, the Domestic Violence Foundation is ready for your speech, and Mr. Sterling's request for additional funds was reviewed by the compliance team. Let me guess, denied. I touched my cheek, where the memory of his slap had faded but the lesson remained sharp. Actually, they suggested reducing his allowance as he's not meeting his restitution payment schedule. Through the security feed, I watched Olivia enter the building for her monthly review. Her designer handbags had been replaced by department store brands, her step less confident without the borrowed wealth she'd once wielded like a weapon. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, William reminded me. Should we tell them about Dad's latest attempt to access the frozen accounts? No need, I replied, watching James fidget in the waiting area. I think everyone's seen enough of his financial expertise. My phone buzzed with another notification. Sterling Enterprises had just been named one of the most ethically run companies in America. The same business James claimed needed his strong hand was now a model of corporate responsibility. Ms. Sterling? My assistant reappeared. The new ethics training program is ready to launch. We're using the birthday party incident as a case study in workplace violence and financial fraud. Perfect, I smiled. Make sure every employee understands that success isn't built on intimidation. After all, real power isn't in the slap. It's in the recovery. And as I prepared for the board meeting, I thought about all the powerful men propped up by stolen success. All the trophy wives flaunting borrowed wealth, all the quiet builders waiting for vindication. My phone lit up one final time, a message from Olivia. I understand now. About everything. I'm sorry I laughed that night. Good, I typed back, because respect, like wealth, has to be earned. And sometimes the best revenge isn't in the punishment. It's in the education. Even if the lessons come with a mall name tag instead of a corner office, and a bus pass instead of a chauffeur. After all, some empires can't be stolen or married into. They have to be built, one authentic moment at a time.